Hey everybody, it's Garrett. Welcome back to What's Right, the podcast where I sit down with music industry folks, songwriters, and I talk about why they do what they do. And this episode's with my very, very good friend, Travis Fox. Played in Callahan Divide with him. I've made countless albums and songs for other people with him. He's the owner of Wonderland, which is a sponsor for this episode. I love him, and you will too. Enjoy, Mr. Travis Fox.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing. I probably see you more than I see anybody.
Now, you came back.
Now that I'm back,
I missed
definitely.
you.
I think in the context of like working in the studio or doing live shows and just kicking it, you know, which is all my life is.
Oh, I gotta adjust my chair here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. All right.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's why I paid the extra $20 for the screw down thingy. You know, because the other ones that you gotta undo them, like you gotta unscrew it and then drop it. You know, manually like a peasant.
Not you.
No, you just
Not on that thing. Where'd you get the thing?
If I wanted to, I could spin like if I'm on it, I could just spin around in circles and I'd just go down like a corkscrew.
So it doesn't like if you're spinning, it's moving up or down.
Yeah. Yeah, if you go left, it's lefty-loosey, and you go taller.
Dang.
And then if you're righty-tighty, you go shorter.
Where'd you get that?
Musician's Friend. I love Musician's Friend.
Faithful. Did you ever get the magazines?
I've been with Musician's Friend longer than I've been with my wife.
And how long have y'all been together?
Like 12 years.
Yeah, a musician's friend, it's more important than spouses.
I didn't mean to interrupt you all.
No. Did you ever get the magazines?
Oh, yeah. That's why I bought so much stuff.
Did you ever used to, like, I remember, my dad's a musician, and so I've been getting Musician's Friends magazines since I was like, a kid. And I remember just like circling stuff. I don't even know why I was circling it. In my heart, it was like, I want this.
Yeah.
But like it turned it. I remember like circling the first few that I got, and like never like getting that because my dad's flipping through it too. He sees what I'm circling.
Yeah.
And I remember this one year, I circled like an acoustic guitar, an electric guitar, a drum set. I circled like some lights. I'm like 12.
You covered all the bases.
I circled a bunch of stuff, and this is like September. And then Christmas comes, and I get a bass guitar that I didn't ask for.
But he needed a bass guitar for his band, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He needed a reliable bass player. But he was like,
Is that how you learned?
Yeah. So I opened it up, and it's a bass. It was literally the only instrument I didn't necessarily want. And he was just like, he could tell, like, he was like, oh shit, he's not into this or whatever. Like when I opened it, because I was expecting it to be like one of those guitars that I circled.
Yeah.
But he's like, we unboxed it and we plugged it in, and he was like, if you learn how to do this the right way, you'll never have to work like a job. But you have to learn how to do it the right way. It's like a lot of people play this, and a lot of people play guitar and then they just pick this up and they're not really doing it the right way. And so he showed me a couple of like famous bass lines, and he was like, just figure out how to do those the right way. And
how ironic is that?
Yeah. And so he gave me this bass, and then I start a band where I'm singing and playing acoustic or whatever. And then I'm in a different band where I'm singing and playing, and they're just like, to me is really just like a glorified cover band. Like maybe I had a couple of songs, but they weren't great.
Yeah.
And we're just filling like a lot of time with other people's music or whatever. And when I'm like 17 or 18, you call me to your house to jam, just because you've never even seen me play bass. You just knew that I had one.
I had realized how hard it was to find a good bass player.
Yeah.
Because at first you think like, man, just find anyone that can play acoustic guitar or something. They can play bass because I guess less strings. And then, we had already moved talking about Callahan Divide. We'd already moved. We had a member in the band called, his name was Branson Hurt, and we originally brought him in to be a bass player, and he was such a good hang that we couldn't let him go because he was a terrible bass player. He could not do it. But we're like, man, you can play acoustic guitar, right? And he's like, yeah. So I think he already came and gone, I think, by the time you got there. But it's just funny because we've already went through several bass players. And then, like I said, how ironic that your dad told you that, because that was, it's not how I met you, but it was definitely where I think all of everything blossomed for us. It was calling you in to jam with us on the bass guitar.
Yeah, dude. At that time, I was just like fans of y'all's. And so you could have called me and been like, hey, can you come walk my dogs? And I would have been like, I'll be right there, you know? And so I noticed on the phone, I'd had a bass like my whole life, just at my house, you know, and I thought I learned it, you know? But I was, like you said, I was never performing with it or anything. You'd never seen me play one. And so when you were like, we need you to come jam some bass with us, I said, oh yeah, I'll be right over. And I hung up and I realized I sold that bass like a year ago. I don't even have one at my house. Okay. And so in the 30 minutes it took for me to hang up with you and get to your house, I went to a buddy's house and borrowed one. And I was like, I'll bring it back tonight. I'll bring it back when I'm done. And I go and I jam with
I'll bring it back when I'm done with the tour.
Yeah, exactly. I bring it over there. And you told me you just needed a bass player to rehearse with for these songs. I was like, okay. I went over there and I did that. And then as I left, I remember you calling me and being like, that was an audition? It was a secret? And I don't even know in that moment if you knew it was an audition or not, but you're like,
I think I did. I just think that, you know the thing about musicians, like deep down we're all really insecure and we're afraid of commitment. So it's like, it's like we just need someone just to jam with.
Right now.
We don't want to, because kicking someone out of your musical life is almost harder than like breaking up with a girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
Because they're like, but we were jamming so well together.
Yeah.
And you're like, I didn't know. It's like, well, you didn't hit the right notes sometimes, you know.
Yeah, that's way more devastating than a breakup.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And so I said yes to the gig. I'm a senior in high school.
Yeah.
At this moment. We got a time hop the other day where you and your brother and your mom were at my graduation.
Yeah.
And
did you sing a song?
Yeah, I think I did sing a song at my graduation. I think I did what's that Green Day song that's at every graduation?
Time of Our Lives.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. So okay, so I get the news from you, like, hey, you want to be in this band? I'm like, hell yeah. And then you're like, okay, here's the tour dates coming up. And I was looking at it. I still had a semester and a half of high school left. And I was like, they want me where on a Tuesday in March?
You didn't give a fuck because we didn't even realize. It was like,
I didn't tell you anything. I wanted the gig.
I'm gonna graduate early, so if y'all want to go, you weren't like if you want to go, you're just like, I'm gonna graduate early, and you told us where I was at and stuff. But yeah, it was like school was never an issue. It
was never an issue to you.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't want you guys to think that like I was hesitant in any way.
Yeah,
because I really wasn't.
Yeah.
But so like I get that call from you, take the gig, and I go as soon as I get home. Living at home with my family. As soon as I get home, I'm like, I tell my mom, I'm like, I don't ask like, is it okay? I'm like, okay, tomorrow. This is like, or I was like, and Monday, you have to come to school with me. Check me out of this school. Check me into this other school that I can work at my own pace at. And so that I can get done with a semester and a half's worth of stuff and like as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And she was like, she's super supportive, always has been. The only thing that like tugged at her heart at first, she was like, well, you're my boy. I like hearing you sing. And I was like, singing's dumb. I want to go. I want to go jam. I want to go do the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to be in this. I want to be in this.
Regardless of what I'm doing. If they would have asked me to be the triangle player, I would be going and getting a triangle.
Yeah.
And so she totally did that Monday. She checked me out, checked me into that school. And I'm going about my merry way at that school. And dude, I realized that I hadn't taken any foreign language at all. You have to graduate, you need like 2 years of a foreign language. And they were like, they knew when I went to that school, and they were like, what brings you to the school? I just told them, I was like, Callahan Divide gave me a gig, and I really want to do it. And they leave for an extensive time in February You know, this is like October.
Yeah.
I was like, in February, they're leaving for like weeks at a time. And I'm just not going to, if I'm doing that, I'm not going to be able to be in class. And I don't want to drop out necessarily.
Yep.
And so, anyway, they're like, well, you're pretty with all this stuff that you're doing, you're pretty close to graduating. I think you could do it before they leave in February. But what about all this foreign language you haven't done? And I was like, oh, like you have to, like everyone has to do that?
Did you do Spanish?
And so, no, they told me, they were like, okay, we'll make you a deal. There's a guitar class in school in this curriculum. It used to be a choir class, and the teacher in there is this classically trained, multiple award-winning vocal coach and teacher. She can teach vocals to anybody. But this year is the first year that it's a guitar class. She doesn't even know how to play the guitar. If you can go in there and help her teach this guitar class, I will give you your Spanish credit.
So you got out of that.
I didn't take a foreign language. I only went to that school because I'm jamming, and my thing is like I'm trying.
And you got to get out of it by jamming.
Yes, dude.
You were meant to jam.
My 2 Spanish finals, technically, were just these kids that we were the same age basically, but these kids going to like an old folks home in Abilene and playing like they're gonna put me in the movies. I just had to take these kids to this, like me and the teacher.
That's rad.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I graduated early and we started jamming. I totally played a song.
Now we're behind 2 drum sets.
Yeah, I know.
We can't ignore that fact.
No.
That we're in a room, 2 drum sets side by side.
What was Callahan Divide like, and even like the first incarnation of y'all jamming together, like what was that like before all that?
Oh,
shit. I know everything.
So
everything that's after
where
that.
it got serious.
Yeah.
Was when, because we didn't have anywhere to jam. We were jamming up at the Baird Baptist Church, and when it got serious was when my dad had built a shop in the backyard. It was probably about like a 12 by 12, like it was not big. And it was completely carpeted. It was funny because he was a carpet layer back in the day, and he had laid all the brand new carpet for the Jaguars out in Thai. It's like a strip club, and so it's all this leopard print. But we covered it from floor, walls to ceiling. So it's like we're like in this like leopard box, right? And we're in this 12 by 12, and there's like 4 or 5 of us in there, and maybe a couple friends would watch, and it was just so hot. We had like one little window unit that wasn't even like an AC unit. It was one of those like swamp coolers. And I'll never forget one time we were coming into practice, and Justin goes to turn it on, and there was a fucking mouse or a rat or something in there. It's like a large mouse or a small rat, and you hear it just go, it's like a turbine. So you hear it go, and then this thing just comes like pouncing out, right? And Justin screams like a little girl, and so it runs out or whatever. And I'm sure he dreams about it still, but anyway, that was just side story there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it got serious when my dad was like, "Y'all can use this building to jam," because we were like, "Oh shit, Dad's giving us like his like workshop, and we're gonna jam in it," you know. So we jammed in there for a long time. We left the church, you know, and went and jammed in there, and that's when Justin first. That's one of the first stories I had about Justin, which was the funny thing, is like him jamming in there and getting scared by that mouse. But yeah, and then gradually we just got bigger and bigger rehearsal spaces. I think you came in when we were in the Swanky Fox in my house.
Yeah, but it was like pre-remodel.
Yeah, it was like
when we were jamming in it, it was still basically like a garage shop type thing. But yeah, definitely I saw the, you know,
transition of that.
Yeah, it just like, what's the word I'm looking? It just evolved. Like I saw the evolution of it. I mean, It's not like this anymore, but I mean I remember when it was like we got it as not, you had it as nice as it could probably possibly be, and then you're like, I'm putting white plush carpet in here.
Yeah.
And then you know, we have like one hang in there, and like
flood happened.
Chrissy Phillips or whoever Jackie Darlene or whoever we're hanging with like spills like red wine on this white carpet.
Yep. I know, which we thought was sad at the time, but remember like the one time it ever flooded in Baird, I live up on a hill, so like it never floods there. It didn't flood so hard that it flooded all my brand new carpet.
Yeah.
And I was like, now we're back to concrete.
Back to concrete.
But hey, I'll tell you one thing, jamming, even for as big as stages we've been on, and for as small of stages we've been on, my favorite way to jam is like as tight as possible.
Yeah.
It's like I don't like to be uncomfortable, but I like if I set up and I'm comfortable behind my drum kit, like I just like it when we've been on stages so small where like we had to all kind of like almost like just like be in each other's
like touch.
Yeah. And we're like literally. Sometimes I've seen like you had to watch where your headstock was, so you wouldn't be constantly hitting my crash cymbal. You know, that's a little too tight, but I do like a good tight little circle, like because it just I don't know. It always feels better to play like that.
Yeah, it's like you want elbow room, but like that's about it.
Yeah.
You want elbow room like plus like 5 inches on each side.
Because it's weird playing on those big stages because like everything you're feeling and it's like coming, to your bone induction and like your hearing and stuff. It's all just replicated through a monitor or your in-ears, know. Whereas like when you're actually next to that person, you're actually feeling their energy.
Clocks and Mirrors just dropped. You can get it anywhere you download, illegally stream, or buy music. I personally suggest you go into GarrettBryan.com because if you download it from there, if you purchase it from there, I get all the money. Like once again, it's called Clocks and Mirrors.
I remember us on some really big stages, and I remember the first maybe like 6 months or so of us being on like big stages. I remember being spread out, and I remember us kind of like that was I remember us kind of just getting closer and closer to where it kind of looks like how the Beatles would set up.
Yeah,
where they would be like, the stage is like 2 football fields.
I go back to all of our videos.
There.
And it's like we always set up for stages like no wider than like 24 feet wide.
It's like
even though we've like
enough.
played on like 60-foot stages, like we've always just like taken up just this like certain size portion. It's like if we ever want to have the stage filled up, we're gonna have to get a lot of production or something. Or some dancers.
Or like other players.
Other players.
Get an acoustic player again. Get JT on the organ.
Yeah. Oh,
it's because it's like
our recent shows.
Yeah, exactly.
Man,
like it has to look like one. Me and your brother were talking. We did an episode, but we were just talking about this, I think, randomly, because we were talking about like his solo album songs versus like a Cali D song, and with the same thing with me, and I think like we've probably talked about this with you and Justin too, but like Callahan Divide has to be like unmistakably like one thing, one like organism.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like a 4 or 5 headed.
That's how the songs start and turn out too, I think.
Yeah.
Like, it starts, one person brings their song they love, and then they've already made the deal with themselves, like, okay, if I do this, it's going to change,
100%.
And then it goes through like this weird like Callahan Divide osmosis thing, and then you're like, okay, this is either really terrible or it's like this was a song for it or it's not. But I mean, I always thought that every song that went through that process always had that. Just that, I mean, even with Dead Money, I mean, that was one of my brother's songs that he was planning on putting on his album, and he brought it to us, and we were like, yeah, it sounds like you, but like, are you trying to say like, let us in on this because some things are going to change, the bass line's going to change, and it's not that it wasn't a good song before, it's just now it's like it's Callahan Divide, like we totally did that with it,
Always when I think about I think about my songs. In the context of like showing them to you and Justin and Colton for like a Cali project, I think about them in the context of like, do I want this song to go through this obstacle course?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like because sometimes I usually like with Dead Money, that's like a perfect candidate for a Callahan Divide song. Even how your brother was doing it, we're like, oh, I can see how Callahan Divide would like do that. And it's funny, like we have a lot of recordings of songs that like they're maybe finished recording, but like they're never going to be released just because like it isn't a Callahan, like they just like they don't make the mark, and like the mark isn't really about anything tangible, but it's like you and me and your brother and Justin like collectively have to like taste the same thing. It's like
I don't think the world realizes how close they were to getting your song Sharks and Callahan Divide format.
And it's a great version.
And it was like that's one of those ones that no one will probably ever hear and we'll probably never finish because just in that moment, whenever you pitched that song to us, we took that one rehearsal in the old Swanky Fox, and we Callahan Divide filtered it, and it went through this like change, and it was really cool. But it was also cool, like the version that you put out. It's just the Callahan Divide thing's never, even if one member changed, it would like almost change the formula, because I feel like it's always just, I feel like from Poplar really, from Poplar on, I feel like we had we'd found this like style, like this sound that we could all collectively, like you said, just get behind and taste, and just be like, man, this is chewy, and I like chewing on it, kind of deal. Because I'll still put that Poplar album on, and back then when I heard it, we were in it. So I would be listening for my drums, or I'd just be hearing like little mixing mistakes, or like mistakes in the mix.
You're
or
like
something.
really close to
it.
But
now listening back, I'm just like listening, and I'm just like, man, how did I not know this was as badass as it was when we were doing it? Because I would have enjoyed it more.
That's interesting. Yeah.
But I'm glad I get to enjoy it now.
There's a pressure. There's a pressure during it.
Yeah.
And when you're making it, and it's like you're spending a lot of money on it, a lot of time on it, it is like, it's like the musical representation of your time and money and
heart. People say that we're always a band's band, and I get that now because like listening back to it, it's like a lot to chew on, and I realized while we were doing it, while we overlooked just the joy in it a bunch. Not that we weren't having fun. It's just like when you're playing it, we had, like, for me at least, I had to be thinking like what I was doing, because
every song had parts.
Yeah, it was a like, to remember have a 2-hour set of that. We had like 4 covers maybe we threw in there.
Maybe.
But just remembering just the structure of our songs and like the not tempo changes, but you know how it was. It's just like you want to captivate the audience, and you want to be on the same vibe that they are, and you want to create a vibe at the same time, so you don't want to throw anybody off. But with some of those sudden changes we had, it was always like a journey figuring out how do we transition from here to here and keep people's heads bobbing, and into this show. And I feel like that was always like one of the funnest parts about playing live, was just being able to almost work the crowd like a DJ would.
Right. Yeah, like thinking about it in terms of like, this is the chunk of time, thinking about like the vibes 45, like when you start, you already know where the vibes are going to be when you're 45 minutes in.
Yep. Yeah. Sometimes some crazy stuff happens, and
that's fair.
Guys, like, I mean, you're good at it, but like can just call audibles, and I know we did plenty of just wing songs, because we knew like if we do this song right now,
it will hit.
It's gonna be one of those things that we can remember because it's gonna hit so hard.
Yeah.
And we pulled off most of them.
Sure,
sometimes
yeah.
Sometimes we were a little too confident.
That's fair.
Oh yeah, it's always, that's what's so fun about it though. That's why I miss it. I'll miss it forever. Like, even if I did it yesterday, like I'm just gonna automatically miss it, because there's nothing that can simulate just like that time you get to step on stage and like just kind of perform. Like I'm sure if you're a professional athlete, it's the same way.
Right.
But it's
how early in Callahan Divide, like being named and y'all are jamming on the weekly, rehearsing and playing some shows, how early in the process did like original music happen?
So it's funny, when we first went to Callahan Divide, we had our fans that kind of like jokingly deemed us the Cross Canadian wannabes, and because all of our stuff was like our singer at the time, we all love Cross Canadian Ragweed.
Yeah.
Still the stuff jams hard, but that's all we played, and it was at that point where we're like, let's learn some originals, and then. And it's like half of us want to learn originals, and then like the resistance on the other one was like, no, I'm comfortable with these Cross Canadian Ragweed songs.
Sure.
And we're like, well, so we had to do what you asked just now. Like things had to change, and that's why the band kind of went through some changes early on. But because we had these original, like we wanted to be original. We didn't have the songs even written yet. But we brought Justin in. I remember he brought a song called like 30 Pack in. It was terrible. We still joke about it, how funny and god awful it was now. I mean, we were literally using songs that I wrote on our first album, so that's how like
you shouldn't downgrade that. Those songs are like still liked. Those songs are still good, especially in the context of that album. Like,
oh yeah,
I think you understood the assignment.
Yeah.
And I think in that time, in that genre, you didn't have to like overthink a song,
and
especially
look at us
like
too.
a bar band.
We were a bunch of kids,
Yeah.
right? So like there wasn't anything we could do because we weren't growing facial hair even yet. There's nothing we could do at the places we were playing where the crowd would look at us and say, "I'm going to learn a life lesson here." So
Right.
all they're going to
That's
be
so true.
All they're there to see is they're going to see a bunch of kids on stage. They'll be like, "So what can they provide me? Or they can provide me a good time."
Yes.
But I can't relate really to them at all, except for when my youth, when I was young.
Bro.
So like if they're singing about some like bullshit that doesn't matter, like I can relate to that because I know it's true for them. Now it'd be different if I saw a 45-year-old man still singing about the same things because I feel like at this point he could give me more substance, behind what he's singing. So like when I had my two songs were "Bucked Off the Barstool" and "Hell of a Night." And one was I just wanted to tell a good, like, funny story. It was my dad's idea, and we wrote it together.
Great
Hell of a
premise.
Night. And then Bucked Off the Barstool, I literally wrote on like when I went to the bathroom at my job.
Yeah.
I wrote it in like 15 minutes, and it was just same thing. It was just kind of like I wanted to just do the cliche thing and write a song about all like the names of liquors and stuff, and it was super easy and honky tonk because that's what they expected of us. They were like, we want to go out, we want a two-step, and we want to like raise some hell, and y'all are young enough to where we can feel like we can get by listening to it,
Yeah.
And then, but then our stuff just, it graduated as well, and we started getting a little better at our craft and realizing that, we'd lived a little more and we can sing about some more, important things.
Sure, yeah.
So,
it's I remember being young and being on stage and like knowing that no one values, like not even being offended by it, but like not even thinking anyone should value my opinion about anything.
Yeah.
I remember even when I was in Callahan Divide and trying to write good songs, I still remember feeling like my opinion isn't really one to be like valued by like, we're in a full club. Yeah. And I'm just younger. I'm younger than everyone.
You still feel like everyone in that building has lived more life than you.
Yeah, 100%. Or I also was like basically ignoring anything that was remotely adult in a way. Like I was at 19, I'm jamming with y'all and I'm doing it for a living and I'm 19. Like I'm not watching the news.
Oh,
I'm not really keeping up with social media.
I'm just waiting for that next time we're going out and doing
like my life is just like sleep in the van until you get to where you're going. And like I was just so content with that being my little world, Yeah. And so it was all great and until that moment of like, hey, you're singing a song now that you wrote that you really care about, and so you're like internally you're like, everyone shut up. I have something to say. Yeah. But then you're like, I'm immediately met with like nothing I say kind of matters. Yeah. In a way. And so it's funny, like I haven't felt that way in a long time. Maybe it's just because I'm getting older and I've been doing it longer. Yeah. Or maybe I'm just getting a bigger head on me. I'm just like, people should really listen to what I have to say. But like, I remember for a long time feeling like, no one should really care about what I say.
I think that's why there's always a place for those types of songs, because even now, and I don't consider myself old by any means, but even now that I feel like I should be listening to more mature music, which I do enjoy now. It's still good just to turn on a song and it just like be about nothing.
Sure, yeah.
It's just like it's like there's always gonna be a space for it.
It took me like until a year or two ago to even enjoy that. Yeah. To just enjoy. I think maybe I'm just a happier dude now too than maybe. I think when I was younger, I think I let on that I was really happy. But I think I was just drawn to like darker, sadder music. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think like it was giving me some type of release.
Well, think about what most people go through in that time of their life. Your early 20s are big, like for me, like a big wake up call, because you realize like what we touched on is like you realize like my opinion doesn't matter to most of the population except for people that are younger than me, which like at this point in your life you don't really care about that group. You want to impress everyone else, show them that, like prove to them like, hey, I'm in your world now. Yeah. I'm to be respected and like and also I'm cool, and then you just get disappointed, and it's like a good 6, 7, 8 years of just figuring yourself out. So like your emotions are stirred up. So of course, like that's one I always kind of joke like, man, when people get their life together, they start writing shitty music because like it's like when they're going through all that stuff, like that's the reason why the music is least so interesting because you're getting a lot from a lot of different places, you know, and this isn't everybody.
No,
but when I really invest in someone's like writing career and like their music career, and I can listen to like what you can literally hear maybe not their life story because not everyone writes that way, but you can at least hear like where this coming from,
right?
And you're like, man, this is it can stir up that, like, for me, I feel like I'm in a really comfortable spot in my life now where like I'm happy, but that's why I can listen to sadder music now because sad music does such a good job in stirring up those emotions, but now I can like deal with them.
Right.
Whereas when I'm younger, like I didn't listen to any sad music because like I knew I'd probably get sad and I needed to be motivated. So I'd be listening to like Ellie Goulding and stuff. You remember that those days? We'd be jamming
The Chandelier.
Fire.
Whatever, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The Fort Worth Stockyards days. But yeah, I mean,
I think I remember thinking that like happy music was like less than, and it's really not.
Yeah.
It's all about like where you are.
Yep.
And I will say, yeah, like the closer my life becomes what I wanted it to be or what I want it to be, the closer that becomes my reality, the less I write. Like, you know, I remember, you know, I just remember because that's how I deal with things I don't. It's how I deal with like the friction of life is writing about it. And when I'm not feeling that friction,
you're not writing about it.
I'm really not writing that much. You know, I can sit down and I can do like how you were writing those two songs. You're like, here's the story, beginning, middle, and end. I just have to sit down and make it rhyme. I can do that, but at this point, I have so many songs, and at this point, it's like, why would I do that? Because now I don't feel that thing I felt when I was a kid. Now I feel an obligation, and I want this obligation, but I feel this obligation to like it be really good on like a few different levels.
Yeah,
like it has to like the formula of it, the composition of it needs to be like tight and good, then the cadences and the melodies need to be tight and good. And by the end of it, like something needs to kind of change. Like your perception of your perspective of something should kind of change. That's a lot of weight to put on a song, but I've written so many songs that weren't that, and I don't feel like I want to do that anymore, you know? And so even if I'll finish it, I may not show it to you just because when I get to the end of it, I'm not really any different than when I was when I started listening to it. And that's a weird, pretentious weight to put on songs.
Yeah. I think everyone has their process. Mine I always told myself, oh, I'm not a songwriter. I'm not a writer.
I remember
and I started thinking
saying that.
I started thinking it because I mean all I had to show for it was that when I wrote on the pot, and then you know that just really lighthearted stuff like when I was 18, you know, but since then like I do write a lot.
Yeah.
But it's like it's in the form of like more like poetry, unmeaningly. Like I just like the way it looks. I like the way it sounds coming out, and I'll have thoughts, and I just learn to get them down, and I've kind of come to find out. I'm here recently, you know, picked up playing the guitar, and now that I can actually like make melodies, you know, I've revisited some of those poems I had, and like I've realized that I am a writer.
Yes.
It's like. The perspective thing is the interesting thing. The reason why I like my poetry so much is because it's always like me saying it to someone else. And I've noticed that my favorite music is that way too.
Yes.
That's also been why I haven't been able to write, because I always have really weirdly approached music in a different, like I've kind of approached it like a movie where I'm trying to like tell a story. And that's not really what I think sells it for me personally in music. The ones that get me are like I'm getting to kind of sit in on someone else's conversation. Right. Like a touching song. Like I love The Reason by Hoobastank.
Yeah.
And it's like, listen to that song, you can picture yourself singing to somebody, and you can also picture like you're getting to like listen in on someone's conversation they're having. And I think that's the most like beautiful songs because it is so personal. And that's why I'm learning now that if I write more like that in the music field, I'll probably write more songs because I need to treat it more like
write
poetry.
Better songs.
Yeah, for sure.
Whenever I'm like producing someone and it's like vocal day, well, even before when it's like pre-pro times and we're just like looking at the lyrics and stuff, that's something I ask the writer a lot. Is like, who are you talking to? And sometimes it's not that type of song. You know what I mean? And that's okay sometimes. But like when we're talking about really good songs, I think they're all like that. I think it's all like one person is just telling something to one other person. You get to hear it. You get to hear what they're saying. And if you can do like the reason, if you can put yourself in one or both of those shoes, it's a smash. But like that's not even the point. The point is like when you're writing it, to know who to like see the face of the person you're talking to, and then to take and then weeks go by or a week or however long goes by. Now we're in the vocal booth cutting the main vocal of this thing. It's like, okay, do you remember who you wrote this about?
Yeah.
Look. Think about that person's face this entire performance.
Yeah. That's I don't mean to jump to like a somewhat similar topic, but that's honestly like, and I know you love this too, but that's why my lighting in here, my lighting everywhere, I got my house even transitioning to like these like RGB bulbs. Like I feel is just so important just for my overall like mood. I know it sounds silly,
no,
but getting
the
back,
mood
like
is most of it.
Getting back in that mindset when you wrote the song to where you can convey that message again, even though it's like 2, 3, 4, 5, even maybe a year later, whenever you're finally getting to record the song, it's like you've got to let yourself get there because you got to sell it not only to yourself but to everybody else, obviously, for them to like believe you that what you're singing is yours. Or maybe if you didn't write it and you're singing another person's song, like at least there's a reason why you're there's if you're a guitar player or a musician, you can cover whatever song you want, but to like go and put it on your album, like I'm sure I just look way too into it, but if I ever did that one of our albums, because we've never done that, like I feel like it should mean something to somebody, and not just because be like, oh, it's easy and people will think it's cool, like I feel like if I did a Blink-182 like song on the album, it wouldn't be because I know it's all the small things because it's the number one song by Blink. If I did it, I'd do like First Date or something because it brings me back to when I'm like 12 or 13, and it's like something I've always wanted to just like I've never actually got to play it live, so it's something I've always wanted to do, and the fact that like I get to do it with my bros, maybe on stage now, like it's exciting, so it actually stirs something up in me that like if we didn't play it live or didn't have it in the album, I wouldn't be getting, but now I'm getting to have.
Yeah, I think. Going back to the lighting thing, I think you're hyper aware of like the vibes where in whatever room you're in.
Yeah, and annoyingly aware.
Yeah, sure.
Where I'm like, hold on, everyone, I gotta fix this bulb. You're like, we don't care.
It's important. I think it's important. Like that level of like awareness of the vibe is like if you own a space like this, like you do, like that's to like make stuff out of that, like to make like good art out of the air, like that is so important.
Yeah, you got to be comfortable, and
the artist needs to feel like comfortable enough to like be like naked, metaphorically naked.
Yeah.
Like.
Yep.
This episode of What's Right is brought to you by Fio Music Group. Fio Music Group is a record label based in Texas that's signed to myself as well as Dane Pack, Peter Sinclair, and others. They're the reason the lights are on most of the time for all of those households. They've partnered with Yellow Dog Studios so that we're able to have nice things like vinyl records with production value. You can learn more about Fio Music Group by going to the website fiomusicgroup.com.
Naked. It would be fun to be naked in here. It's got padded walls.
Yeah.
You just if you're on this side of the room, it's kind of like you're in an insane asylum.
On this side of the room?
You're not going to hurt yourself if you hit a wall.
Oh, that's true.
Anywhere you go, you're safe.
Is that why you have the stray jackets? That's funny. Yep. Dude. Okay. So, we talked about the before times and the during times. Okay. So, after Callahan Divide takes a really long hiatus.
Okay.
And you haven't, you're starting to like get more gear, starting to get more recording gear. The rehearsal space is now a recording studio.
Yeah.
Okay. Take me from there to now.
Okay. So like were we starting like 2017?
So like the first time like you have an art, I think it was Dane Pack.
Okay.
Like the first time you have an artist come over to the Swanky.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
From there to now.
So funny. So this is like right as Callahan Divide plays our last show at like towards the end of 2017. We know it's going to be at least a couple year break because we're having kids and things are happening or whatever. We've been on the road for a long time. then COVID happens, right? And so that's 2020, but so we're still back in 2018. I just quit my job. I had a job all through Callahan Divide. I quit it because like now I have nothing to look forward to on the weekends. You know, it's just like this is now my life, and I cannot handle this.
Yeah.
So I quit it. My wife's super like just understanding out. She just said go for it, you know. And I'm literally at my wit's end trying to figure out what I'm going to do because I've tried to play drums for other bands, and it's not that I have like an ego about me. It's just if I'm playing the drums, I've strictly played drums for the joy of it. And because it's a lot of work lugging a kid around, it's a lot of work like on your body, it's physically exhausting. So to me, it's just if I want to play drums bad enough for a band, there's going to be a band out there that wants me to play for them because they like the way I play drums. So if I'm having to alter my playing in a way to where it feels uncomfortable, you know, or I feel like I'm going to get fired if I put too many kick drums in a beat or something, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm like, what can I do? Can I be a DJ, and just DJ like frat parties? I'm gonna be like this 45-year-old guy that's like, put your hands in the air, and you know, and everyone's just laughing at me. I bought like 2 turntables at this point. I'm like doing stuff out in the Swanky Fox at like 3:00 in the morning, like dropping, you know, Martin Garrix tracks. It's just stupid. Until one day, Justin's wife Anna, she's like, why don't you just like do a recording studio? It's like you've been doing audio for a long time, you know, on the road. Like I know live sounds different than recording, but there's this recording studio that just went up for sale in Clyde, and it's listed as a residence, but it's a recording studio, you can tell. And so I'm like, holy crap, how have I not thought about this? Like I've literally thought about DJing college parties. Like how have I not thought about, you know, just doing recording studio stuff, you know? And yeah, so we got that building over there. We called it Notion Sound Studio at first. That was in business for a few years. That was a great learning curve for me, like realizing, wow, live sound is totally different than recording. It's pretty much like recording is like the Microsoft Excel of like the accounting world of like the fun, you know, like it's the recording part is so fun, the mixing is so fun, but all the editing you have to do is probably the most important thing. Just like with video, it's just the most important thing, but you have to do it for it to like be professional, you know. So I got to learn that hard lesson, you know, and I'm very, very, you know, happy with the recordings that came out of there. But when I listen to them back, it's just a reminder like this is a journey, and this building I knew was here from back whenever we cut our first ever Party on the River album. We had to come in and do our last song, and we just did it like in a recording studio called Glass Star Studio that was kind of at the tail end of their life, but they had just the other one got demoed. It was in a church, and they had moved their operations here for a few months, and we cut our last song here called Last Words, and so I knew it existed. So I wrote the guy a letter, didn't hear from him for a year. Got the letter back like a year later. There was like, you know, this building has taken significant water damage. We were kind of unaware, but we are interested in selling. You know, if you're still interested in buying, was able to pick this thing up and have all the amazing sounds now I could ever want. There's like not any perpendicular or parallel walls in here. It's just really just the epitome of like an acoustic marvel, honestly.
Yeah.
And it's something I never had in the Swanky. It was a perfect rectangle. And then when I had the Notion, it was a professionally built studio, but there was no focus on the control room, and that's where we do the edits, you know. Right. And the most important part of it. So if your room doesn't
balance.
If it doesn't balance right, then you're gonna feel like it sounds great, and you're gonna get out in the real world and be like, wow, the bass is way off, or you can't even tell what the vocals are saying. So moving into this studio where we have now like a control room that's like a replica of the live room, it's a little smaller, and it's got a lot of focus on the actual sound in there. When you hear the mix in there, it sounds like that everywhere else, and it's like there's no more obstacles getting in the way to trip you up.
Yeah.
And so the journey's been just amazing, and tying it back into the band, it's like now we can actually record our music and not be out the financial burden of, like, we primarily toured so we could pay for our music. Right. And it's like, you know, we have this amazing place now to rehearse and to do anything we really could want, you know. And it's like now it's like why are we not putting out music? It's like we have to, you know. Yeah. It's because we still get the joy from it. We don't have to like go on these relentless tours to be able to pay for these albums, right? Because we kind of did that already for a long time. I feel like we put that work in there. You know, we can enjoy a little bit easier time recording, you know, and But yeah, it's been a great journey from the old Swanky Fox.
Yeah.
Swanky Fox Notion to Wonderland Records now.
Yeah.
And I could have been a DJ.
Sure,
thank God I got that advice. You know?
Well, yeah, I feel like with every like stair step up with you as like a business owner and a music maker and collaborator and all that stuff, I feel like every single time that you did that, you've given me an opportunity to grow as a producer, as a composer. You know, you've given me an opportunity to like grow my business just as a freelance dude making music, you know.
Well, it's always...
I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for saying that. I was just going to just say, ditto, because I always tell a lot of people this, like, if you look at it as like, with weaponry, I'm not a gun, but I'm a hell of an attachment for one.
Yeah, you're a scope.
I'm a hell of a scope, or I can be whatever you need. I can help you with that, but it's like creating out of thin air. I don't have that ability. I'm more my brain's more like engineering. I'm building things from the ground up,
right,
or thinking about the 13th layer already. It's just I don't that creative, that left side of the brain, I guess is what it is. But when I'm around people like you and the more creative, my brother's super incredibly creative.
Yeah.
It opens a door in me that I don't necessarily, it's locked unless I'm around people like that. So the fact that we can bounce ideas off each other and constantly do that is like just keeping each other sharp. They say like iron sharpens iron. It's
dude.
So I've always enjoyed being a part of your life and your adventures and stuff, and the things that we've gotten to do and build together. I've gotten to do so many things in the audio realm. We spoke about the audio realm versus the drumming realm. So many cool experience with my bros drumming and fans and everything, but I've had just the craziest opportunities open up in the audio where I've gotten into like to the hip hop world.
Right, yeah, the Lupe Fiasco stuff.
Yeah, I've worked with Lupe Fiasco and Gucci Mane and Chameleonaire, 3-6 Mafia, Blueface, like Flippin' Dinero. And when I start, and it's so funny because I don't like to name drop for reasons of like that, anything negative. But it is funny. Sometimes I have to name drop because you look at me and I might have a rapper come in there and be like, "You do rap?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I love it."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, who have you worked with?" And I was like, they're asking me if I know if I know any. So it's like I do that and it's like so it's great. It's just another proven thing that music just breaks boundaries.
Yeah, it definitely does.
And so I'm just super thankful for getting to like play my part in the hip hop world now and love it even more.
Yeah.
And still like, if anybody wants my producer ideas, it's like, you're going to get some 90s and 2000s ideas.
Sure, yeah.
But
it's like producing stuff is all about someone trusting your taste.
I showed my daughter Nelly yesterday and she loves it.
Nelly is the shit.
No one, like, ask a kid about Nelly, they probably not going to know who it is. No. But if you show them a song, they're going to be like, I don't know what this is, but I like it, And that's just, it's going to make a comeback.
Yeah.
Bring Nelly back. #.
Dude, he's around.
I just want to work with Nelly,
You and I both.
I freaked out. I was working at South by
I'll go get Band-Aids.
Yeah, I was working at South by Southwest Festival in Austin a few years back, and I was doing sound at the moment for Blueface, and someone was like, "It's 50's on his way in. 50's on his way in." I'm like, I'm about to get to work with 50 Cent. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
But that's like one of those like right there with Nelly,
yeah, dude.
If I ever got to just like push faders for 50 Cent.
Yeah, dude, 50's he's inspiring on like multiple levels. He's inspiring as a business owner.
Oh yeah.
He's inspiring as just a speaker.
Good TV series.
In contexts like this or on radio or whatever, like it's funny you get a couple different 50s. You get like late night television.
Yeah.
You get or daytime television fit, and you get like podcast 50, and he knows how to do all of them correctly. On top of having great music.
Yeah. Yep.
So okay, your brother put out an album today, which it'll be already be out when this podcast drops. But today, in our reality, your brother put out his second solo album.
Yeah. Don't you use his traffic song for? Okay. Yeah. I love that song.
A song that he made in MIDI.
Yeah.
Just because he wanted a song, he wanted to hear a song like that, so he made one. That's the intro.
That's what I love about my brother. He's just like, I want to hear it. I want to do it.
Yeah. Everyone that knows him or has heard his music now knows the caliber of a motherfucker he is. He's
Yeah.
It's like, okay, when did you know that? When did you see that in him?
I saw
How much older are you than him?
about 2.5 years.
Okay. You guys have created music together and created businesses together your entire lives.
Yeah, it goes back way before that though.
Okay.
It was the moment I knew that whatever he did that I was doing, that he's gonna just like in the half the amount of time he's gonna start doing better than me. And so he was pretty much like training me from the way up. As I'm his bigger brother. He's pretty much showing me, not training me. He's showing me on his way up to like, hey, I'm badass, or like whatever I put my mind to. So, so when the day came where we had got our first gig, and we had to provide a 45-minute opening set for, I think it was Jamie Richards at the time, our first ever show. And my girlfriend at the time, she had an older brother that had like this Squire bass guitar, and I remember walking into the room. And just because of all this time now, I've known that like, hey, this motherfucker's played baseball and he kicks my ass at it.
He can just do it.
He can just do it. I was like, hey, can you learn this bass guitar? And he's like, yeah, how soon? I was like, this weekend, like Friday, we have a show. And this is like Tuesday. And not only does he show up and play this thing, like he's like 15, I think, at this point, at this bar. He messes up lesser than the rest of us did. Like, we're like, God damn, who's learning how to play the instrument here? And then within like 2 months, he's like, hey, you mind if I start singing background vocals? And that's just how he's always been with whatever he focuses on,
Yeah.
And so to answer your question, it was fucking early. Like, it was as soon as like we're playing like GoldenEye together and he kicked my ass and I'd be like, okay, this is getting serious, Back then you didn't appreciate it though, like you do when you're older. Like now I'm just like, my brother can do anything.
Sure.
Back then I'm just like, no, bro, you can't play this game.
That's
it's just my game.
Yeah. He's definitely told me before that like a lot of stuff that he's done, especially in his youth, was just like to impress you because you are his older brother.
Well, that's cool.
And I'm curious of like, do you think he's such a genius when he's driving and engineering or producing or writing? Do you think he would have found music without you already being kind of in love with music?
Yeah, I think so, because he was even, he used to drive us crazy, but he would hum at the dinner table and not realize it.
Wow.
I think it's always just been his outing.
Kind of conjuring and making stuff?
Yeah, he has to release it somehow. So I think if anything, if he wouldn't have picked up music, he would have at one point stopped at a truck station, like a truck stop, or got one as a gimmick gift, like a harmonica.
And then just accidentally learned the shit.
He would have done that on accident just because he already hummed.
Yeah.
And he'd been like, oh, and he would have like mastered that. And he'd been like, okay, now I'm done with the Blues Travelers. Now what else do I like?
That's so funny.
I think he was automatically going to always find music.
Wow.
Yeah.
There was music in y'all's house, right? Like,
Your
dad had instruments.
My dad's had instruments in his closet. He had like a fiddle or maybe a banjo or a mandolin or something and a guitar. But he never like pushed them in front of us. Mm-hmm. And we honestly never really knew he even played until like we got old enough to where he'd tell us stories about how, oh yeah, I got this guitar, and he'd play something, and he'd like tell us how he'd sit out in his apartment back in the day and play with some friends.
Yeah.
But it was never like a pushed hard, but definitely well received whenever we mentioned we wanted to do something like that. He was like, oh, you do? And so I remember one of the first things he did was he went and traded his like childhood fiddle and like his mandolin for my brother's first acoustic guitar that was like
good,
semi-professional,
good
good enough to play and be proud of, and like make his sound better, just because he deserved to sound better because he's learning these chords and stuff, and it's a new guitar. And man, he held on to that guitar forever. It was called a Seagull.
Yeah.
Seagull guitar. It's a beautiful sounding guitar.
They're beautiful.
But yeah, so like that's how my brother's been. I think everyone around him has always like just known how talented he is,
mm-hmm.
and they're quick to like just help however they can.
Sure.
Including myself, I think that's really why maybe I even took that gig, is because like, not that I didn't want to do it personally, but I knew that like it's something I could do with my brother, because we did that old Kelly's gig before he even knew how to play. I think it's because like, oh, we're getting older and we've always been so close, and we do everything together. We'd even date the same girls from the same town, so we could like ride there together and save gas, And then when one of us break up, we're like, sorry, bro, I had to break up with her, so you need to
break up. We need to find another group of friends at another time.
But yeah, I mean, so I feel I feel like that was just an opportunity in my head, like, oh, I can do this with my brother, and it could be like a thing that we really enjoy together, and so I'm gonna give it a shot.
Yeah.
And not even that, maybe I thought about that back then, but now thinking back on it, it's like I only want to ever do stuff because I just enjoyed it at that time, which was my brother. He was like, we're best friends, always never fought, so it's like, you know, it was a no-brainer. Let's fucking be the rhythm section, bro.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you remember the first song of his that he showed you that you were like, oh my God, this is a great song?
Yeah, so what used to be? We actually put that on our first album,
Right.
but that was like literally the first song he ever wrote.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the first song he ever wrote, and we're like, damn, okay.
That is a great song.
Yeah, you know.
That's a great song in it.
And I was right
in
there,
any
like, built up the bar
context.
stool, you know, and he's over here like 15, 16, writing songs about like what used to be. Like,
What
bro, there's
used to
never
be.
anything, nothing's ever happened, man.
Yeah,
What's going on?
You're only now at the point where something can used to be.
Yeah. What do you mean, like?
That's so interesting.
But yeah, he's always been able to think outside the box and think kind of over a lot of people's heads. Like it's funny. I'll still catch myself like listening to his music and realizing I've never known what a song was about until like I finally chose to listen.
Yeah.
And it sometimes makes me feel like a bad brother. So I'm just like, I should.
No,
know
you're just a bad listener.
Yeah. Makes me realize
You're a
like,
great brother.
yeah. I mean, bad brothers wouldn't ask themselves if they're bad brothers, you know.
That's fair.
But yeah, a bad listener, because I'm guilty of like just listening to like the music or something, and because there's so much going on with his stuff. Like there's a lot to listen to,
A lot of layers.
And
yeah.
so if when you actually choose to ask yourself, what is this song about? Then you actually listen to the words and try to figure it out. It's like, man, this is like, you know, this is like literally someone screaming at me something.
Right.
Like whatever he's singing about, he's screaming it at you.
He's literally just telling you.
Yeah. If you
There's
crazy.
there's a song on his first solo album where it's literally just him sitting on a therapist's couch talking to a therapist. And if you don't realize that, it's still a really great song.
Yeah, that's cool. So what song is it? Do you know? I'll ask him. I gotta go check that out. Because I'm sure I've heard the song several times.
Is it Recluse?
Oh, yeah, I bet that is Recluse. That's from his first one.
Is it what's the first line? It's like, basically, the first line is like, can you play that? Yeah. We should just put it on this episode while we're doing this.
In celebration of the release.
The first line is basically just like, I'll sit and, like, I don't even want to paraphrase it. It's so beautifully in a.
That's a song when
It's
I
a
heard
high
it, I realized
caliber.
that I thought I was a bad brother. Because the song is such a high caliber song, but
Yeah.
when you realize what it's about and you realize like, shit, this is a beautiful song. I hate for anyone to go through this. And you're like, oh my God, my brother wrote this song.
Yes.
Oh my God, my brother was going through it.
Yes.
And you realize like way too late, you know?
Such a great intro.
Oh, yeah.
I put it to the mic, but I feel like we're just gonna play it.
Yeah, we're supposed to edit that in post, Gage.
Intuition is 4 words. How understanding are you?
How understanding are you?
And he's literally, but in this
Ready
moment,
to move forward, another 5 words that I'll use.
I'm ready to move forward. Another 5 words I can use or whatever. He's literally sitting and talking to a therapist.
Yeah.
Like, how understanding are you? I have a lot of stuff to say
Yeah.
and work through, and I don't even know you.
Yeah, how understanding are you? How
Yeah.
good is this? Yeah, it's just, yeah. It's letting you know first line like, hey, this song is something to listen at if you're, you know.
It is so
Yeah, everyone go out
beautifully
and,
done.
everyone go out and stream that new one he released.
Stream that. Stream
his old one.
You want this? Stream that. Stream Frail and the whole new.
And he does these
solo
all
album,
himself.
too.
Like he records these all himself. He mixes them all himself. He's living out in Colorado now. Has like a basement studio. It's
Mm-hmm.
really cool setup, but it's like its own little space to create. And you know, in between having to take care of the 2 kids and
gig.
and gig and stuff, he's down there making this music, just doing it like the rest of us, without any kind of backing for promotion or anything. So just word of mouth is the best thing. And yeah, so thanks for bringing that up, because that's a great artist and great music to be heard there.
Yeah, dude.
And you'll get something totally different than with Callahan Divide, like, because it hadn't gone through that Callahan Divide osmosis filtration, so it's
Right.
like it's literally
purely him.
Yeah, it's purely him
From
So,
start to finish, from like concept to the recording you're hearing, every single thing is
It's how he
only
likes
him.
it.
And he
If that low end's a little heavy, it's because he liked it like that.
it's definitely on purpose. Like,
Yeah.
I do think like it's so good, it's so unique that you love it or you hate it. But if you hate it, it was still on purpose. Like,
Yeah, still
it's
on
like it's a
purpose.
taste thing.
Yeah,
like,
he knows when he's mixing it, like, oh, someone's not gonna like how loud these keys are, but I like
Doesn't
it.
matter.
So
Yeah.
whoever likes it, I like that.
For sure.
You know?
That's probably true with any kind of recording. You're
Yeah.
either going to love it or you hate
Yeah.
it. Because even if I listen to something and I'm like, that's okay,
But you don't know.
that kind of means I hate it.
But you don't know when you're listening to it though, if the person who actually made the song actually loved it or hated it. Because if you think about most projects, they touch so many hands.
That's so fair.
But
We've put out albums that we didn't necessarily.
Oh yeah,
love
it's like
towards
it's almost
the
like
mastering.
the more large you get as an act, it's like the more hands it touches. That's why it's like it's so hard to not become that mainstream sound. It's because like you have just so much stuff involved. Whereas like this dude just sitting like here, he's touching it all by himself. So like what you are hearing, it's like any other artist out there doing everything themselves. Like what you're hearing is like how they like it. So you know when you listen to it, like, man, this guy likes a lot of bass, or man, this guy likes a lot of tambo.
Everything's on purpose,
Everything's
and that
on
dude
purpose,
hears
yep.
everything.
Yep.
From writing,
Yeah, listen on headphones.
right?
That'd be a whole different experience.
From writing, editing, tracking, mixing, and mastering.
Oh, I want to listen to Traffic so bad with headphones now.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
I would only suggest listening to this podcast with headphones if you see the episode's done here, because you're doing the audio. This episode of What's Right is brought to you by Andor Peppers. Andor Peppers is family owned and operated. They have small batch fermented hot sauces and smoked spice mixes from garden to bottle to table. They have physical locations in West Virginia and Florida. If you can't find them there, if you're not around, you can go to andorpeppers.com. Thank you, Andor Peppers. So, like, it is the most fun part of the experience for you. I'm just assuming, but like me or Justin or Colton bring a song,
Okay.
and you haven't heard it yet,
Okay.
and like you're just now hearing it for the first time, and it's like your job to either do something or like listen to someone's note and do something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that the most fun part of the process for you?
My favorite way to do that, and is I like to hear it one time through, and I like to just like I call it Travis Fox 110%. Like
Yes.
it's like 100% plus the extra 10 of just like me kind of know what's going on, so I'm just kind of letting it be.
Right.
And then
How much of that do you want subtracted?
and how much do I subtracted at the end of that performance? And then like the very next feeling I get is like I'll know the parts that I fell in love with that I did and then I'll instantly be like, they better like that too.
Right.
Because I do not want to have to defend this.
Right.
But I will. I'll go.
Yeah.
But there's been times where like I'll come off the hill. But
There's
that's
definitely
just-
some defending going on during like everyone's stuff.
Yeah.
But there's also like if you defend it correctly, I would just be like that he's right.
Yeah. You had those pivotal almost unbeknownst, unspoken like relationships you have like between me and you as you being like who you are in the band and who you are in the band. I might like look at you of that like I need some backup here, man. Like that's a cool idea. We don't have it figured out yet, but we're going to.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're
So back me up,
you're looking at me
because,
like we could make this a 50-50 thing.
Yeah.
Because if you're on their side,
And I think collectively we can win in like a tug of war match or like an arm
If
wrestle.
it's-
So
yeah.
so like come on now. But yeah. So I mean it's fun. Like it's the creation process of bringing the song in is like very fun for me if the song flows.
Yeah.
There's been songs where we brought it through and I'm like, and I just know like it's gonna be one of those songs like for instance, Dead Money was one of those from the very beginning that my brother was like, I want 4 on the floor in this song and that's how it's gonna be, goddammit. And in my head I'm like, no, it's not.
not.
But at first I had to accept like, God, he's being hard with this 4 on the floor thing, and so I've got to just rock with it because I want to. This is his song, but eventually I was just like, hey Garrett, if we take out the 2 and the whatever the beat was, and we add a little whip in there, boom, 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 it's still kind of like 4 on the floor. Let's see if we can get away with it. And then you look at the product now, and it's like this. Then Justin with his slide and stuff, it's just whipping all over the place.
Right.
And we've taken it from this just straight up too much time at the just like to like almost like when it gets into that chorus and that jam. I mean, you're like, what is going on with my neck right now?
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like
that
it's
song
more-
will give you a bangover.
Yeah,
For sure.
and I feel like we just kind of like that was fun for me because like it reminded me of like White Rock Lady. I wanted to kind of be like this, like real just snappy song.
Yeah.
And I always felt like White Rock Lady when we recorded it too slow.
Right.
Because every time we did a
And
live
kind of,
performance,
and maybe too slow, and maybe too like,
4 on the floor.
yeah, maybe too on the nose.
Yeah. So it's just that
Not
kind of
not sloppy enough, maybe for like
Yeah.
that type of a rock
exactly.
song.
It needs to be like swampy, you know. And like
Yeah.
Cold Front, I'll never forget that song when you brought it because. You know, as we know, we're the Def Cab for Cuties fans, you know.
For sure.
And you brought this one to the table, and you referenced one of their songs. I can't place the song.
Grapevine Fires.
Grapevine Fires. And you're like, check this out.
We'll play a little Grapevine Fires right here, and get sued for it.
Okay.
But anyway, like what that is, I didn't know this at the time. I was just like, I like this beat, but like that was just like that's just the pretty shuffle. And it's just this like, can you do it? Can you do it in 4/4?
I'll be honest with you. I have to call in Dane anytime I need a party shuffle done the correct way.
He's
in
so
4/4.
done. He's so good at it. This song's in 6/8.
I got the ugly shuffles that I got.
Yeah, this is. Can you do it? Can you
ugly
do
shuffle?
Can you do the 6/8 version
Yeah,
of?
yeah. That I can do. Yeah. So.
Of like the intro to Cold Front. It's like it's quote unquote iconic to me, but that's I heard it every night.
Yeah, and
for
that was a
long
slot.
time.
You know, that's me not being trained up. You know, but like when we had that thing down,
Sure.
we had that little snap of that.
Yeah.
You know, what I mean, it's like I got to get that back. You know, you can't just throw me in there like that.
I remember. did we? It was that one of the cases where I was like, before we even played it, I was
you're like, this has to be
I was
here.
like, this has to be like this, and I remember, like you're open for notes and stuff, but I remember showing it to you and you being like, this isn't even in the same time signature.
Yes,
and I was just like,
Just do it.
just like do this
Yeah.
like that.
So that was really cool, interesting to me because anytime something in 6/8's brought forward, like the first thing I want to do as a drummer is like, how can I get by doing this 4-minute song and not just a standard doom 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 ga.
Right.
Not that that's bad. It's just that it's so good it works for every 6/8 song. So you're like, so anytime someone has an idea, especially the songwriter, it's like, hey, do something different than that. You're like, let's hear it, man, because
as a drummer, when you hear 6/8, your automatic is like there. It's just needs the.
yeah, I mean, you got that, you know.
Right.
You know, and that's like, once you have a song established that, it's hard to get out of it. So the fact that you told me to do a song. It's still the same, like, feeling.
Right.
But you can't get away with doing that beat on just any old 6/8 song.
fair, yeah.
Because most 6/8 songs are kind of like romantic or
Yeah,
like,
they need
let's
space.
sweep you away in the night kind of deal.
Yeah.
Whereas this one's kind of more like, we wanted that kind of like, I'm not going to say punk feel, but
Right.
like, but if you listen to it, like, it's very on top of the beat for a 6/8. Like, it's very snappy, you know. And even the way you performed it vocally was very, you know, like when
Right.
that beat hit, you stuck it, you know. And it's so it really made those like not too aggressive.
Right. I guess it is kind of interesting to have a song in that time signature that isn't necessarily romantic.
Right. Yep.
It's almost like it's like a post breakup song, kind of. It's
Think
like
of Precious Pain, right?
Right.
So Precious Pain could have been the exact same song if I would have the beat would have been the same. Mm-hmm. You know, it's still 6/8.
Right.
It's like almost in the same key. I think. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But
pretty close, yeah.
But it almost could layer on top of each other. But the fact that you chose that beat in the very beginning, it made the whole song sit different. To where now the both songs wouldn't line up. Like you got totally different like moods. You got different moods for like in the guitar. You got different moods in the drums. Even the way you sing it, like it's the Precious Pain is romantic, is it not?
it is, and both of those live on the same album, and that's something you have to think when you start getting out of the 4/4 realm. You start getting into other stuff. It's like, okay, well, we did something in this time signature like this already.
Yep.
And so whichever one
that came up all the
came
time in
first.
practice. I remember y'all guitar players, because I'm a little late to the learning notes, thing. And so to me, I would establish songs differently by like the music, by the beat, right? Because I'm a drummer, and it's just naturally what I hear. So I could differentiate Precious Pain and Cold Front by not being too too similar because I was doing it as a drummer, totally different stuff.
Right.
And which did affect the overall outcome of the song.
Yeah, but we're all playing in the same key and the
y'all
same
are always
time
like, guys, are we
signature.
sure we can put those 2 songs back to back because they're both in G or, whatever y'all talking
Right.
about? And I'm like, what are y'all talking about? They're 2 different songs. And you're like, but they're in the same key. I'm like, to me, I heard it different, you know? And I think that's another cool dynamic in maybe just the making of our songs because y'all were so conscious about the keys of songs. That's why there's so many different keyed songs, and we had 2 lead singers. That was great because of the variety of music we could do. But then you have someone like me and Justin that kind of unconventionally think about music too, different than you and Bro. And so like we would always throw this wrench in kind of like the thinking of that y'all would have, and it would create this like weird, awkward, like, okay, that just happened.
It's also nice to hear, like, because there's a level of overthinking that everyone's doing at all times when they're recording music.
Yeah.
And so that it is kind of nice for like me and Colton to be like in this conversation, like both of these songs are in 6/8, both of these songs are in the key of A, blah 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 blah. And for you, a member of the band that's creating it with us, to go, they're
different.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it isn't really the same. It's nice to hear that within the camp.
And just on the flip side of it.
Because if you hear it outside of the camp, you're like, you don't know.
On the flip side of it, I remember I've been to y'all, came up to y'all guys really worried, being like, guys, I'm sorry, but like a lot of our songs, I'm just doing basic doom, 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 and y'all are just like, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you sure? Because I did it for like 6 songs already, and you're like, no, I mean it matches the song great. It's what it needs. Like, don't do it. Actually do less. I mean, you're playing a lot of fills, man.
That's fair.
And that's just because I get bored back there, or thinking like maybe they're bored out there because
because I'm doing the same thing as last
but no,
song.
it's learning more about like what does a song need, when is the time to do something cool, when is times like maybe the cool thing is not doing anything at all.
Right.
That's a mature thought right there.
I will say, like, during the last few years of like really touring with Callahan Divide, we had to think so much about like the every moment of like a 90-minute thing, and that's when you start thinking those thoughts like, okay, am I gonna do this beat this many times in 90 minutes? But it's like in the recording realm, you're just really focused on one song at a time.
It's like Dead Space
it's
too.
like it doesn't matter.
We used to freak out about Dead Space. Like in the moment, whenever like the song ends and like, oh my God, we're tuning. Like I know we don't think this now because now we know, but at the time you're like, it feels like forever.
Yeah.
As a drummer, you're just like, do I start now? Why is it taking so long to start? Or if I did already start, I'm like, I've been playing this beat now for like 4 measures. Are we gonna ever start this song? And the fans are about to leave, and then you hear back a recording, and it's like that Dead Space was awesome.
Yeah.
Like I wish the drummer wouldn't have played in that Dead Space because that Dead Space was awesome.
I do like we did a lot of transitions in Callahan Divide, and I do a few of those now with the city committee, but I definitely like lean into space.
Yeah.
And now I use that because now I don't have the opinion of I'm sitting on stage and no one gives a shit about what I'm saying or cares about my opinion. And so now I'm using that dead space to talk or tell a story about this next song or tell a story about recording that last song or just point someone out and use the silence rather than just like
avoiding it,
wait through it or
being
avoiding
scared
it.
of it.
It's like okay, this is our set. I know right here there will be silence. So what are we gonna do with it?
Yeah.
And if it's just shut the hell up and tune, that's fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I crack up. You can go to any show, and if you like got guys under like 24, like I can almost guarantee it. Like in between songs, you're gonna hear the drummer
start.
Do not even start. Just do like some. You're
fired.
And you're just like, okay, it's all right.
You're fired.
Yeah, it's like you don't notice it until you notice it.
The best thing about Taylor Behringer
Yeah.
and working with Taylor Behringer is just his creative mind.
Yeah.
But the second best thing about him is like when he sets his drums up, he doesn't even hit them until they're like, okay, let me get some kick. You don't hit. He sets. They're done.
Yeah.
They're set up. They're ready to hit. Sticks are there.
Yeah.
You do not. You wouldn't. If you were blind, you'd never know.
I like to wait for when the sound engineer has his ear by the kick drum hole when he's setting up that nice little mic down there to be like, oh y'all, did y'all need some kick drum? Y'all need some kick drum on that? Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, Robert, I'm so sorry, bro.
Sorry, Robert.
That was loud.
Every sound guy's name is
Hey,
Robert.
guys, guess what? They work. That's my favorite.
I do have, through no fault to you, from being on your hi-hat side for so long and being on tight stages and just loud environments and stuff, I have less hearing on my right side than on my left. I have less hearing in both of my ears now just from doing it forever.
But definitely being that close to cymbal work.
Being that close to cymbal work, like I definitely wish when I joined Cali D, you guys were already in ears, and I think through just like learning to stage volume and stuff like that, whatever that means, we just slowly got away from doing ears. Yeah. And I think looking back with my ear health, I feel like if I would have just like bit the bullet and committed to like a really good pair of ears rather than just like trusting some buds to get me through this.
Yeah, because I had those triple drivers and they were awesome.
Yeah, I think if I had some triples or some quads, I definitely would have been like, this is the superior way of doing this. But like I was so like in my head about it, like, and then when it shut off the outside world, and all I was hearing was the music, I didn't feel right.
That is weird, especially whenever you rely on engaging with the crowd as much as you do.
For sure.
As a drummer, I'm like, no one ever talks to me anyway.
Yeah.
I'm normally just like throwing drums. Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, well, I don't want to play the drums. I can't hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
But
that's an art. Ignoring someone while you're gigging is an art. Ignoring someone that really wants your attention while you're in the middle of a song is an art.
I wish I had like a compilation video of all the times I like threw drumsticks at people that like got on the stage and I didn't want them on the stage. And I'd be like, I know, like I'd be yelling at like you or something. I'd be like, I mean, a couple times I'd yell, and whoever would turn their back, look at me, I'd be like, get that motherfucker on stage.
Oh yeah.
And then like if that didn't happen, I was like, all right.
Yeah.
I'm throwing drumsticks.
Yeah, that's definitely happening less now to me. But like, yeah, you'll be surprised who doesn't know etiquette sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you told that guy to fuck off. He like owns the hospital across the street. I was like, I don't give a fuck. Yeah. I'm not walking into his office and stealing the microphone. That's literally what he's doing. Yeah. Fuck that guy. Man.
Yeah, that's a whole other topic in itself. It's just a funny topic, just about how, people are just oblivious. Yeah. I'm sure I'm oblivious. I walk in somewhere and I'm sure I'm oblivious. My sister-in-law, Colton's wife, Cassie, I don't know if she wanted her name out there in the world, but that's her name, Cassie. Go look her up. She works in the medical field, and it's like she'll walk in somewhere and look uncomfortable sometimes, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What is it? And she's like, if you just knew how many dead skin cells were floating around in here right now because of what's going on in here, like, you would not be comfortable either. And I'm like, sometimes you just better not ask questions you don't want to know the answer to.
I will take ignorant bliss over that.
Yes.
Sometimes like, I don't want to know.
Being in the medical field is like, I think, way worse than like having the inside scoop in the electrical field or something, Yeah. In the medical field, you're like, you don't want to do that. And even if you get told that, probably don't ask why.
Right.
Because you're not prepared. You're not ready for it. I'm not ready for a lot of things, she tells me.
There's plenty of jobs I couldn't do. That's not even one I ever even wanted to do.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it takes a special kind of person to care for other people.
Yeah.
Especially like in their worst times. And I would have to say that when you're in the hospital, it's probably you're not at your best.
Right.
Yeah. So, anyways, thank y'all for everyone who does that out there.
Yeah, thank you for doing that so that we can sit behind drum sets and talk.
Yeah.
Dude. Man, you want to plug anything? You got anything else going on? I know you got a merch line.
Yeah, I got a merch line. Wonderland Records. We got some hot stuff dropping. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get like a new shirt out like every couple months.
They're great.
And I'm not really like gonna like do like a whole lot of them. I'm just gonna like just make them like limited editions.
Yeah.
And I don't know, because I like just art.
Yeah.
And just
for sure.
It's cool. I like to use Fiverr too. Those guys are cool.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get a sponsorship.
That'd be nice. I love jamming here. I love making records here. Just made 2 LPs with Mark Haygood.
Yeah. Good year coming. I think a lot of the
it's already been a great year here.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is sometimes it takes projects from start to finish 3-4 months, longer even sometimes depending on what's going into it, to even hit the surface where people can appreciate what you did or not appreciate it.
Right.
And for me, it's just now from the artists I've had working with since we opened in the first of the year, they're just now getting to release their music, Yeah. So I've got several songs dropping now from several awesome artists. I mean, there's a lot of people out of this area coming up. And just really too many to name.
Sure, yeah.
But that's something in itself. I need to like create a list or something. Or I do have like a Spotify playlist, a Wonderland, where all the artists that we're doing as they release, I just add it to like the category. So
like the genre.
Yeah, I got
like multiple genre.
hip hop, rap, hip hop. Like rock. Texas country, red dirt, or just country.
Yeah.
Just different things like that.
That's really cool.
Do a bunch of these things right here. I guess you have a playlist.
Yeah.
For like you're gonna have a playlist for all these, but I've just kind of diving into YouTube and figuring out what it all can offer has been kind of an experience itself too. So
for sure, yeah.
But in Spotify, it's all different market now with little blue check marks. Have a lot more access to that stuff. But we got Wonderland Records on Facebook, Instagram. That's about it. That's all I'm really on.
Are you like, when you plan things, are you like a long term? Are you like a 5-year down the road type of planner?
I have to at all times have a list on my phone or in real life. I mean, they're everywhere. Of just when I get an idea or something, I have to write it down because that way I can let it go. Because if not, it just lives rent free in my head. It's not even free. I mean, it like causes me like serious stress,
Yeah.
So I got to put it on paper or my phone so I can look at things and like categorize them as like, is this a need to do now thing? Is this like would be cool to do in the future thing, or like a need to do in the future thing? And like basically prioritize like my thoughts, which I'm sure, is like just a great practice in general. But to answer your question, I mean, there's things that like I want to do that I want to have done in 5 years. And there's things that are like, they're just small things that just stay in the back of my head that are not important at all. But like rewiring a light in the control room, it's just like, it doesn't need to be done, but it's like, it's going to live in my head until it gets done.
Yeah.
And so it's like just, it's short term and medium term. The long term, I kind of just leave alone because I don't really want to worry too much about that.
Yeah,
at the moment.
sure.
Yeah.
Lastly, I want to thank you for years ago making me feel like it's okay and you can still be cool even if you're a mama's boy.
Oh yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Oh heck yeah. Hey, mama's boys are good people to have in this.
Yeah.
we know a good thing when we had it,
Yeah, dude.
And then you get out of the house and you realize like, dang, like I don't get chocolate milk made for me every now anymore. And,
right.
And I want that again, so I gotta make my life, good so I can have that again.
That's right. Dude.
We know what we want.
We love our moms. We love
moms.
each other. We're constantly making records here in Clyde. Thank you so much for doing this, buddy.
Hey, I'm glad to be on it. I'm glad that we got to talk about stuff
Me too.
for a while.
I definitely learned
camera.
I definitely asked things that I've never just asked you.
Yeah.
'Cause I felt like we're always chat. You and I are just always talking, always chatting about stuff.
Yeah.
And I have this thing in my head where like a time will come where I can ask this.
Well, we always have like something in that happens in the conversation is always like interesting. So for me, I have a terrible memory. So for me, it's cool that I can actually go back and like I can actually sit in on this conversation that we had.
Yeah.
Because like just a while ago before this started, we were having a really cool like conversation, and I was like, oh, that'd be cool to use. In my head, I was thinking that'd be cool to use in the podcast, and like I'm sitting here now, I can't even not remember what it is.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like now it's gone to the wind, just
gone
like all
forever.
those other cool ideas and
Yeah.
conversations we've had.
Yeah.
Do what?
It was the NBA comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks
yeah.
again, buddy. That was great.
Y'all fucking killed that.
My butt's asleep.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Were you comfy?
How's your
I was
legs?
comfy, yeah.
Cool.
I was more
did
like
great,
concentrating all
dude.
the time, not to like I wasn't grabbing my nuts.
Yeah, I did grab my nuts a few times.
So I was like, you know what? We can get some edits on that. If I'm gonna hold my nuts during one of those conversations.
Honestly,